Okay, continuing on with our hiring process video series, now I'd like to talk to you about the primary factors that employers consider when hiring a new employee. Well, it's primarily two factors. To start with, what everyone believes to be the primary factor for hiring is demonstrated competence. Okay, well, while it's actually not exactly like you believe, employers don't often look for the absolute most competent individual. That is, the individual with the highest level of education, the individual with the greatest amount of work experience. While that is a positive factor and something that catches their attention, it's generally the employer identifies a minimum level of competence to do a given task or position. Okay, what they believe level of intelligence, ability, prior training, whatnot, that an individual would need to carry on the intended task, function, or job successfully. So with that in mind, achieving that minimum level of competence or demonstrating that minimum level of competence is what gets you to the next factor. Okay, so and to talk, before I leave the aspect of competence, in a previous video we talked about high formal need firms versus low formal need. That is, the high formal need, the firm needs somebody so they can be more selective, they can be less selective with the employees, but they can be more selective as the competition for that position goes up, the more applicants they have. Well, naturally, the more applicants you have for a position, employers psychologically are going to begin to raise the bar that is the minimum competence for the position. Where previously they may have thought that these are the task, skills, or abilities or minimum qualifications that they need, with a sufficient number of higher level candidates, they raise that minimum qualification, and that could work to exclude others, which oftentimes can be a negative thing because lots of times prior experience and level of education are poor indicators about how dedicated or how well an individual will perform in a position. But again, that's the subject for another video. But nonetheless, that minimum level of competence is always there, and again, with the number of applicants, it goes up. The second factor, which I want to talk to you about, which in my mind is even more important, once you've achieved that minimum level of competence, that you've demonstrated that is, they read your resume, they read your cover letter, that initial screening interview demonstrated a high level of proficiency in what they're looking for. Next, they look for what's called fit, or in some terms, sociological fit. That is, how well you mix in with the current work environment. The individual's already employed there. Will you fit in with the team? Now, this goes a little bit further than simply being likable or something like that. Now, likability is one aspect of it, but it goes to the fact that it's very rare that an employer brings in a new employee wanting that employee to change things or to revolutionize or create some huge amount of value that they don't expect. Okay? Rather, they expect that employee to fit well in with the team so that the process that's already in place can become more efficient or more streamlined with the skills that this individual brings to the table. But for their skills to be useful, they have to fit in or work efficiently with the individuals there. Now, we understand as individuals, we make presumptions all day long. We rely on past experiences, learned knowledge. We call this heuristics, how we apply this level of learned knowledge and past experience to present situations so we can make snap judgments about things. Now, that allows us to, as individuals, operate more efficiently. Now, the same thing goes for the team environment. To have individuals who have a higher comfort level, that reduces the friction of communication. It reduces the need for additional efforts. There's a commonality of understanding, a commonality of values, a commonality of beliefs, a commonality of personality, of demeanor, a mutual rapport between individuals that makes the overall process function easier, that is, with less effort. I like to use the example of, to demonstrate how things can run more efficiently. I bring up the the example of, say, when you get a new boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, when you first meet, you tend to be nervous. Say you're riding in a car somewhere, you try to make idle conversation to keep it interesting, things like that. But after a certain amount of time, you become comfortable with that person, and then you can easily ride for 30 minutes in the car and not say anything, and nothing seems awkward, there's no nervousness, things like that. That level of comfort allows you to operate and do things more efficiently. So we actually in relationships strive for that, to get to that level of comfort more quickly. In the hiring context, there's that situation is called the airport test, where an employer thinks, if I were trapped in an airport with this individual for 2 hours and had to sit and talk, would it be a painful experience? Or would there be enough mutual interest, mutual understanding, etc., that you like being around this person, so that you fit with that person, that it's a comfortable relationship, that it doesn't create that level of awkwardness, because that's what you want to avoid within the team. If you can create that sociological fit among your team members, again, they will carry out individual tasks more efficiently, etc. Now, this and the same way can be a negative thing, and employers are cautioned against this, because if you create too much uniformity in thought, attitude, personality, etc., it starts to translate into similar demographic backgrounds, etc., and it creates uniformity of thought, which, while uniformity creates efficiency and operational capacity, it's often not a good thing when you're trying to think creatively or look broadly. Diversity in that case has been shown to be much more efficient, because it brings non-uniform ways of thinking, etc., to the table. But nonetheless, when we are hiring, we are still generally caught in that mindset to hire people much like ourselves. Okay, because again, ourselves, we share, people much like us, we share that level of commonality there, of understanding beliefs, interests, etc. So be aware of this. As you're approaching the hiring process, if you understand that employers typically are looking for this commonality of understanding, etc., this level of fit, then you can comport yourself in a way that maximizes that understanding. You want to demonstrate the highest degree of fit in the organization, which means understanding the individual who's hiring you and the team that's there. And again, that will help your chances or odds of gaining position, or perhaps more importantly, of gaining a position in which you'll be effective.